by talking about the West Virginia State Legislature. I know it's been a while since we talked, and last time we did Congress, about how the different parts that Congress is made up of. Today, we're going to do the West Virginia State Legislature. This is our legislative branch for our state, okay? It is also made up of two houses. What is a two-house legislature called? What's that? Bicameral. It's a bicameral legislature. The names of our West Virginia, of our two houses, are the House of Delegates, not House of Representatives, House of Delegates. And the House of Delegates has 100 members. There's 100 members in the House of Delegates. Each of these members will serve a 2-year term upon election. So if you win an election to be a member of the House of Delegates, you will serve a 2-year term. And then you have to run for re-election or quit. All right. We have in the state of West Virginia 67 districts. 67 districts. So some districts have more than one delegate. So there's 100 members total, and there's 67 districts. Now, where we live is in Raleigh County. Raleigh County actually is comprised of like 3 districts, okay, because we have a greater population area than, say, places like Roane County, okay, Ritchie County. Very, very few people live there. All right, so depending upon where you live, there are 1 of 3 people that could represent you. All right, and this, I don't know when I last updated this since the last election, but I don't think that it's changed too much. So depending on where you live, you could have 1 of 3 people. You could have Brandon Steele, and have his name in red because he's Republican. You could have Mick Bates, who did recently win, and so did Brandon Steele. And Mick Bates is blue because he's a Democrat. Or you could have Chris Toney, and he's a Republican as well. All right, so I would say that the majority of you, because you go to Independence High School, live in the 29th district, which that's Brandon Steele's district, okay? And as you can see, it encompasses all the way up to, it looks like almost Harper Road, okay? And then it goes Crab Orchard, all of Coal City, all of Sophia, Helen, Rodale, and all, like Odd, okay? This is all Brandon Steele. So if you live in like Crab Orchard, MacArthur, Sophia, Coal City, Beaver, not quite Shady Spring, but Beaver, then you would live in the jurisdiction of the 29th District, and Brandon Steele is your representative in the West Virginia State Legislature, okay? Now, if you live in the city of Beckley, like I live in the city limits of Beckley, and in the last election, I voted in the 30th District, and that's Mick Bates, okay? You guys know Mick?
Yeah, I'm friends with Mick Bates.
Okay. All right. Mick, all these people are not just politicians, guys. You realize that. Brandon Steele's a businessman. Mick Bates owns Body Works, okay? And Chris Toney, he's a bus driver, all right? He's a bus driver in Raleigh County Schools. All right, so Mick is mainly just the city limits of Beckley, essentially, okay? So, like, I would be like right here where this, like where the water tower is in Beckley. So Mick is my representative, as he represents the majority of the city of Beckley. Chris Toney is like part of Wyoming County, and then like western Raleigh. This is like Liberty area, the Liberty area. Okay, so Eccles all the way over to I think Copperston, almost Oceana, all the way to the west side of Oceana. Okay, so he's got both basically northeastern Wyoming County, and then Eccles, everything west of Raleigh, southwest of Fayette and Kanawha. Mm-hmm.
Why do districts range over 2 different counties?
Yeah.
Okay, it's gerrymandering. It's just how the districts have been drawn,
All right.
and you'll see it also has to do with population as well. This area is way greater. Like, look how much land this is, and then look at Mix. Mix is very small. But there's probably more people in Mix, just because he has a greater population. It's like, you guys see the Electoral College map, right? What color is it mostly? Red. But land does not vote. People vote. Okay? And you got to go where the people are. And that's why Mixed District, geographically, is very small. However, he's a lot more people in his district than Chris Toney, who probably has a district that's 5 times the size of Mix. But there's just not as many people there. Does this make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Now, that is the House of Delegates. These are your delegates. All right. Now, the other house in the West Virginia State Legislature is the West Virginia State Senate. Now, the West Virginia State Senate is comprised of 33. There's only 33 senators in the entire state. So many counties will have, are joined together. As you can see, Wyoming, part of McDowell, and Raleigh County are all one senatorial district. Okay, we're all one senatorial district, and as far as that goes, if you're elected to be a West Virginia state senator, you would serve a 4-year term, and then within each senatorial district, there's 17 of them. We are in District 9, so this is District 9 that you see here. Okay. Now, we get 2 senators from our district, okay? We get 2. We are apportioned 2 senators. Do you guys know who your senators are? I did update this one. All right? Your senators are this man who, this is his campaign photo. He won on Election Day, okay? And he's a Republican, Bug Stover. You know Bugs? All right, he's the Wyoming County guy. Wyoming County gets their own, and then Raleigh County gets their own. Ours is Roland Roberts. Okay, also I think he's a businessman. All right, so both Republican, and those are your West Virginia state senators. So Bugs, he'll be there for 4 years because he just won, and I think Roland Roberts he will be up for re-election in 2 years. Okay.
This is a dumb question.
Yes, sir.
Well, what exactly does a senator do?
All right, we have a bicameral legislature, and so laws can either start in the House or they can start in the Senate. And depending, senators can't vote on things like tax law. Laws about taxes can't start in the Senate. They have to start in the House. But they both have to agree on a bill that gets proposed into a law. And that's kind of what we're looking at here with how a bill becomes a law. Yes, Chase?
Can the governor veto?
Can the governor veto?
Yeah.
Yes.
Like the president?
And they can override vetoes. Yes. Mm-hmm. Anything. All of these people, whether you're in the Senate or the delegate, you're a part of the legislative branch. And what does the legislative branch do? Make laws. These are lawmakers. Okay? Okay. That being said, here is how that happens. Now, I have up here the federal legislative branch because it's just the easiest to understand. Okay, the way, because how a bill becomes a law is not an easy process. Okay, it has a lot of steps. It is very tough for a bill to become a law, actually, and it's intended to be that way. Okay, because we have to get everybody to make sure it's a valid, worthwhile, required law. And so basically it starts, with the exception of tax laws, which have to start in the House, it can start in either House of Congress. It can be a House of Representatives or it can be a Senate bill, okay? If it's a House of Representative bill, it's called an HB. If it's a Senate, starts in the Senate, it's an SB. And they're all given titles and names, HB or SB, all right? So let's say we start in the House, okay? And so whether it starts in the House or the Senate, each house has committees. So let's say that we want to make a law that says all cars in the United States have to get 50 miles to the gallon by 2025. Right? That could be a law that's made. Right? So it would definitely put heavy restrictions on the automobile industry, which probably will not happen. But I'm just saying, let's just say that that's the law, okay? All right, so what does that law have to do with? Energy.
Economy.
Okay, the economy.
Emission. Driving.
Transportation. Okay. These are all committees that exist in both the House and the Senate. There's a committee on energy, committee on transportation, committee on the environment. All of these things are affected by that. And so depending upon which committee it is assigned to, they can make changes to it. They can be like, well, 50 seems a bit extreme. How about we make it 35? And so they can make changes or amendments to the bill. And if they make amendments, it has to be approved, okay? So in this committee itself, they will hold a little miniature vote to see if after they've made their changes, if any changes are made. And they can table it, meaning we'll talk about it later. They can deflect, they can defeat it, meaning this is a crappy bill. We don't want it dies. Or they can pass it. If they pass it, then it would go to whatever, like if it started in the House, then it would go to the floor of the House. Now that doesn't mean they literally throw it onto the ground, okay? That means it gets to be talked about and voted upon by other members of the House of Representatives. Or if it started in the Senate, other senators. So there, it is voted on after it's discussed, and then it can either pass with a simple majority vote, which is 50% plus one vote, or it can die. So there's another place where a bill can just, die. All right, so let's say they pass it, then it moves on. So if it goes, let's say it started in the House, now where does it go? It goes to the Senate, and the Senate has their committees look at it. And basically the whole process starts all over again, only in the Senate, okay? And if the Senate doesn't like some of the changes the House made, and they make changes of their own, and then both sides can't agree, the bill can die. All right, so let's say that the Senate committee it's assigned to, they like it, they didn't make any changes, it all looks good, they vote on it, and it passes. Then it goes to the floor of the Senate, where all the senators of the United States can vote on it, where it can either pass pass, or it can fail. All right. If it passes, it can pass with a couple of different ways. It can pass with some changes that they want to be made, or it can pass without any changes they want it to be made. All right. If they don't want to make any changes, then that law will go straight to the president. All right. If they do want to make changes, then it goes to a conference committee. A conference committee is a committee that exists, and it has both members of the House and members of the Senate. And they all meet together to try to agree on the amendments. If they can agree on the amendments, then it goes to the president. If they can't agree on the amendments, it outright dies and has to start all over again. Okay? So let's say that they pass it, either with or without amendments, and it goes to the president. Well, then the president has several options, because the president can either say, this is a wonderful bill, and I love it, let's sign it into law. And as soon as the president signs it, and then whenever that bill is scheduled to take effect within the bill, that bill is no longer a bill, it becomes a law. Okay? Or the president can say, I don't really like this bill, and it's kind of unpopular, and I don't want to offend anybody. I'm just going to not touch it. And what happens to the bill? It dies. It's called a pocket veto. It doesn't really have to do anything. He just doesn't do anything. Just leaves it alone. It's called a pocket veto. Or the president outright says, I don't like this. You guys need to make some changes to it, rework it, or I just outright hate it. Veto. And then it goes back. All right? So let's say the president vetoes it. Then it goes back to the House and the Senate, where they can have another vote, where if they can get 66.6%, or 2/3 of all the members of the Senate and all the members of the House, they can override the president's veto, and then that bill will become a law. A lot of ways a bill can die along the way. It's very difficult. It's not an easy thing to get laws made, and it's intended to be that way, to make sure that they are worthwhile. Okay? So, questions on how a bill becomes a law? It's a long, lengthy process. All right? This chart will be very beneficial to you when I ask you how a bill becomes a law on your test tomorrow. Okay? All right. Now, as far as individuals, can an individual make a difference? Of course, an individual can make a difference. Individuals can make a difference in a variety of ways. Voting and campaigning. There was a lady in Atlanta who herself, through work of her own, picking over the past several months, is responsible for registering to vote over 800,000 people. She made a big difference. Okay, so individuals are certainly able to make a difference, and as you all have become very aware, every vote counts. And by voting and participating in politics, you are making a difference in America. Every vote counts. So voting and campaigning are two ways that an individual can definitely make a difference. Participating in politics. Another way that you can make a difference as an individual is you can join together with other individuals in an interest group. Now, some interest groups that are very common and popular would be some things like the AMA, which would be like for doctors, American Medical Association. And if ever there's laws that come up for debate in Congress, they would lobby or argue on their behalf, on the behalf of the doctors. And what the AMA, the American Medical Association, does is they charge you to be a member. And then they take your money and they pay these people called lobbyists to argue on your behalf to try to get their way. And that's how interest groups work. The AMA, the NEA, which is like the National Education Association, the NRA, National Rifle Association, they argue on citizens' rights when it comes to the Second Amendment. The AARP is the largest interest group in the United States. What is it? What does AARP stand for? It is for elderly citizens.
All-American.
The American Association for Retired People.
Oh, God, that makes so much more sense.
AARP, okay? So you can join these interest groups. What kind of issues do you think the AARP is involved in? Social Security, Medicare. They want those things protected at all costs. All right. So joining an interest group is another way that individuals can make a difference. All right. I got NRA, AARP, the Sierra Club. What do you think that they're interested in?
Conservation.
Conservation, the environment. All right. So can these interest groups influence laws?
Yeah, sure.
Without a doubt. Lobbyists, they're very useful. Okay, and they're if you guys like money and you like to schmooze with high-ranking people, become a politician or become a lobbyist because you can make a lot of money. All right. And there's a reason why they get paid a lot, because they have important work. They work for these interest groups. Yes?
Like, how do you become a lobbyist?
I would get a political science degree. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then get, probably have to know somebody, and be a schmoozer. You have to work well with people, all right, because it's a people business. But interest groups are good because they can help to identify issues. If somebody's dumping nuclear waste into the river or dumping antifreeze in the river, the Sierra Club will be like, hey, you shouldn't be doing that. We're going to bring it to the attention of people, okay, because they protect the environment. Or if, laws are being made to threaten people's Second Amendment, the National Rifle Association is going to let people know about it, okay? They identify issues, all right? Another thing that interest groups do is they make political contributions. If there's one particular candidate of a party who seems to be a little more favorable to their position, they're more likely to donate money to them. And that's one of the things interest groups can do. Another thing interest groups can do to make a difference, Now, I mentioned to you this is lobbying public officials. So, and lobbying is a very important aspect. Okay, so individuals can make a difference, and interest groups are a big part of that. All right, so do you guys have questions?